fast, die young.
Hello, it's me, Lance Nelson. It's been a while since I've talked about anything other than the post office scandal and the latest play by the Outcasts, False Accounts. And we are going to be talking more about that in other episodes because it's not over. There'll be more happening with that show over the next 12 to 14 months. But for a change, I get to talk about one of the shows that I'm a big admirer of, not least because I have been collecting all of these since they were published, and this is the Walking Dead graphic novel series. Started off as a weekly issue. I've been collecting them since number one. I've got right from number one all the way through to the end, and I was huge fan of this. Zoe Dixon, who is a librarian friend of mine, actually recommended this to me and said, come and rent it from our local library. But I didn't. I went and bought it from the comic shop instead and was pretty hooked. And I think there was about 10 issues, 10 of these out when I started buying them in, I think it was 2006, if I remember rightly. And I've been reading them avidly ever since. Now, the graphic novel series finished about 1.5 2 years ago, and the television series has just finished. It's got a number of spin-off shows, Fear the Walking Dead, and there's more on the way. But tonight we're going to be talking about the main show that started with Andrew Lincoln playing the chef, and I've got a super fan of the show coming on with me tonight. An actress, director who's a friend of mine, who was flagged up as someone that I must have on if I'm talking about The Walking Dead. And she is a super fan. Her house is covered in trinkets and posters and all sorts, signed photos and everything. And she has visited all of the sets. Like me, she also works in the industry for her sins as an actress and director, occasionally a producer when she has to be. And I'm sure, like me, she doesn't like doing that. But let me bring her on now. Hello.
Hello.
Anca Vaida. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes, very correct.
So lovely to have you on the stream for the first time. Hopefully it won't be the last time if I pick another topic of which you're a fan. But great to have you here to talk about all things The Walking Dead. For those people that watch this later, because I don't get a lot of viewers on a Friday, but when you do watch it, don't forget to like and subscribe and share it and all the rest of it. And if you've got a question or a comment, put it in the chat. If you'd like to know more about the Outcasts Creative, you can contact us on the Facebook page. And also, if you want to know more about Anca's work, there are already some details on the screen below. Okay, so first of all, let's clear up a couple of things. You have not read the graphic novel series, is that right?
It's right. Yes, I have not.
You've had a peek, I believe.
Yeah. I flipped through it, and then I thought, like, "Ooh, should I read it? Should I not?" Because I love the series so much that I thought, "Is it going to change the way I feel about it?" And I didn't want to take the risk.
I think, because I'm going to say now, I think that the graphic novel series is the superior of the two, because it didn't have to worry about things like actors' contracts and disputes and people leaving the show earlier than intended and that kind of thing, or people running off to do feature films. And so it didn't have to deal with those issues, as graphic novels or novelists don't have to deal with weather and, colds and all of that kind of stuff that impacts film and television production. So it had a free rein with its characters and how long Robert Kirkman decided to keep them in. So for that reason, my personal opinion is that the graphic novel series is better. Oh man, I've already got some spammers in the thing, so I'm just going to block them. Sorry, in the chat.
Right.
They've gone. I haven't got any of my moderators on today, but some of them might jump on later. And the reason I think that it's better is because there is that sense of continuity with the characters. But there's a lot of differences, and some of the differences with the show I think are better, and some of them are not. And we'll talk about. I'll mention some of those a little bit later. But we're going to focus on the TV series first, and we'll talk about some of the comparisons and also some of my favorite moments from the graphic novel series, and maybe compare and contrast what some of the characters look like. And so let's push on. So you've watched every single episode of the show just the once?
Oh no. I mean the last season just once because it's only come out now. Well, the last few episodes. But the other seasons, especially the first few, I've had the chance of watching quite a few times.
Right. So my first question to you, you know what? I'm gonna write down my answer
Okay.
on this writing whiteboard, and we can see if we agree. So I'm gonna just write down. I mean, I've got more than one, but I'm gonna press you to pick one on this first question. So, on the Walking Dead television series, who is your favorite character and actor in the show? Now, your favorite character and your favorite actor might be two different people, so I'll let you have two different choices on that.
Okay.
But favorite character, favorite actor in the show, and why? I know who mine is. Straight at the top of my list is on the board already.
Yep.
Who's yours?
So, favorite character, I am choosing Carol because I really like her evolution throughout the series and how she started and how she ended. And yeah, so she's my favorite character.
She's, I mean, the actress who plays her, I think the first time I saw her was in the Stephen King film, The Mist.
Yep.
And she's
quite
got
a few of the actors from The Walking Dead were in The Mist.
That's right, because that was an Atlanta shot production, and also
Mm.
several of them, I believe, were with the same agent.
Potentially,
and so that always helps, you know. Your agent puts like 4 actors up for the same thing. Oh, they're all really good, and they all get cast.
And I think Frank Darabont was involved, wasn't he? Frank Darabont,
Frank Darabont produced. I think he might have even directed that movie.
I think so. I think so. Yeah.
Did you know that movie originally was intended to be filmed in black and white?
Oh, I didn't know that.
And there is a black and white version of it out there, and he lit the whole thing so that it would work in black and white. He actually did all the lighting for black and white because he knew he was going to convert it to black and white later.
Interesting.
Even just for his own purpose.
Yeah.
So he didn't tell them, the producers and the money people. I think it's a really good movie. Very, very, very underrated. Now, Melissa McBride is the actress that plays her. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
And I think in the comic,
she dies very quickly in the comic, doesn't she? I think, is it because I even read that they were planning to kill Carol in the prison season, and the actress playing Laurie actually went to them and said it would be a huge loss if you do kill Carol off. Like you need to keep the character on, and they decided to keep her on, and here we are today.
She dies. She first appears in issue 3. She dies in issue 42. Now, an issue of the comic is only about 8 pages or something.
Oh wow!
So they were weekly. They were really, it was called like Walking Dead Weekly. So one of these, because this is volume 2. So one of these contains, I'm not sure how many issues. Funny you should mention Laurie there. There she is. But they had a really good way of conveying emotions in the graphic novel by doing this thing where they would give you these kind of split frames of a moment, and it would suggest something slightly different in each frame, which would convey an emotional beat or an emotional narrative that was very clever, and they did that with artwork with the characters' expressions in a way that I'd rarely seen done in comics. It's not like in every issue and every other page, but I mean, there's a really great moment where Negan's face changes. I'm going to talk about that later. So Carol's your favourite character. Is Melissa McBride your favourite actress? She's definitely one of my favourite actresses, full stop. But
yeah, she's one of them. Like, so I definitely would, but there's so many. Like, I love Samantha Morton as Alpha. She's fantastic. And Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Negan. And yeah, like I absolutely I love them in that.
So, well, my favourite character in the show is Marshawn.
Okay, nice.
So she was my favourite character in the comic when she first turned up with the two zombies attached to her, and that's how she turns up in the graphic novel.
Badass.
When she first turned up with him, I was like, "Oh, cool! Who's this?" And she's like got a samurai sword, and it's like really cool. And her character, and her, I would say, of all the characters that are in the graphic novel series and in the TV show, until they got rid of her, hers was the most faithful in terms of what happens to her. Yeah.
Interesting, because I know the love story is different. Like, I know she ends up with Ezekiel, doesn't she?
She does. Yeah, she doesn't end up with Rick. She ends up with Ezekiel for a time, and then that all plays out very differently, which we can.
Okay. I'm curious to know about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. So, I think. Yeah, it's really hard to choose, and so many good actors have come and gone in the show as well. And you know, some of them have gone on to bigger things like Star Trek and whatnot. But I think overall consistency and arc wise, I'd say probably Melissa McBride is probably the best of the ensemble cast that's been in it the longest for me. Yeah, because she's gone through such an arc, hasn't she?
She has. Massive, like, her character's arc is the best for me. Like, where she started and how it evolved, and yeah,
and now where she's at the end of the show is completely different to where she started. So yeah, okay. I mean, we could talk about characters. I do like Negan. Negan is pretty similar to Negan in the graphic novel. And he is on the front, in fact, of one of the ones I've got here. This is him with his band of bad guys.
Yeah.
And then you can see, you know, the guy who got half his face burnt off. They gave him a really nice story. Trying to remember the character's name now.
Is it Dwight or Dwayne? I never remember which one.
Dwight. They gave Dwight a much nicer storyline with a lot more depth to his character than in the graphic novel. That was one of the things that I thought was better. And he's not a main character in the graphic novel, and he's not really a main character in the show. But they didn't just make him another bad guy. He kind of had his own humanity, and he had his own struggles, and I really liked what they did with him. So he wasn't your typical kind of just number two.
And have you watched Fear? You said you've watched Fear the Walking Dead, because his story continues there.
I've watched. How many seasons of that have I seen?
I think it's 7 now.
I haven't seen 7. I think and I've watched it very bitterly in bits. Like, I saw the first season all in one go. One of the things I found with Walking Dead is I found that it was a show that was best binge watched. I found that if you watched it weekly, the intensity of the drama didn't feel as punchy for me. I much preferred to binge watch it.
I agree.
So after like season 3 or 4 of The Walking Dead, I waited until a whole season was out. I didn't find that the seasons gripped me as much if I just watched them with a big gap between each episode. And then I was also forgetting what had happened, and I'd have to go back and rewatch stuff. So I did the same with The Walking Dead, but there was like a year between me watching each season, just for various reasons, you know, job and work and projects and other TV shows taking up time. But I've at one point they all end up in a hotel on the west coast of California. Then they end up on some kind of ranch in
Yep.
Mexico.
Yeah.
So I got that far with Fear the Walking Dead.
I think that's just the first 2 seasons.
No, and then there's a whole thing with a cowboy ranch with loads of cows, and at one point
Yep.
they herd a whole load of cows to destroy a herd.
Mhm.
That and there's a load of cowboys that season, and there's a big fight.
Yep.
That's the last one I think I saw. Is that 4?
No. It's still in the first 3 because something major happens at the end of, in season 3. And it kind of changes the main cast quite greatly between season 3 and 4.
I think I saw that because I just didn't like a whole load of people just disappear.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. I don't want to
Yeah.
give you any spoilers. That's why I'm
Oh,
being so cryptic here.
it's the plane. Then there's the whole thing with the plane and everybody getting on the plane, and then you've got that scene where they're going along the runway and the propellers are chopping up all the zombies. I saw all that. That was that season 4?
I don't remember.
They're trying to get everybody. They're trying to get the plane to take off, and it's like really, it's a really knackered plane, and
yeah. So
there's
it is further, but I don't remember which. It might
there's
be
a load.
4. Might be
So
4.
I think the end of that one, because then there was that whole storyline with the radio and the truck stops and all of that, and the people leaving out food packages, but then the woman luring people to their death, and then they killed her.
Yeah.
So that happened, I think, after the stuff with the cowboys and the ranch and the cattle, didn't it? That was later.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, so it's coming back to me now.
Okay. But have you seen the second apocalypse? There is basically a second apocalypse, which was a bit like, okay, I don't know how I feel about that.
The second apocalypse.
Yeah.
I wonder where that comes in the Walking Dead timeline.
Yeah, I'm quite curious as well, but yeah. I don't want to tell you more. You need to watch it and let me know what you think once you do.
I think I need to go and watch. I think I might have got up to the end of season 5 or 6. So maybe, but there's one season I definitely haven't seen.
Yeah,
at least
yeah.
I don't think I've seen any of the. Anyway, we're jumping topics now.
That will be a new podcast.
Fear the Walking Dead podcast. Okay, so back to the Walking Dead. So so we talked about characters we like. I mean, I'm going to come back to characters a little bit, but let's move on. Okay, so this is going to be a hard one because there are 155 episodes total, 172. I forget now. It's around 150 episodes. So what episodes and moments were the show's highlights for you?
This is really hard.
Yeah, now there's quite a few.
Yeah.
And I can think of.
I mean, some definitely popped up already.
You see,
probably.
It was weird for me because when I was watching the show, it was like, I can't wait to see how they're going to do that bit because the graphic novel was way ahead.
Yeah.
And that wrapped up about, like I said, 1.5 years or 2 years ago. So I got to the end. I kind of knew where it was going if they were going to keep it the same.
Yeah.
And obviously not all the characters were the same.
Yeah.
But I mean, what sort of sticks in your head as a particularly gripping or punchy moment?
Yeah. I mean, there were a few, like, as I said, 3 of them just popped in my head immediately. So one of them is where Carol saved them in Terminus, when she shoots and it explodes just as they're about to get their heads chopped off, and so for me that really was like, oh my god, especially since she's my favorite character.
That's the cannibals.
Yeah. And then of course the one with Neagen and the lineup where he gets to choose who's gonna go, because that's such a strong. I even have, as you said, I have lots of posters and everything. I have one of that, but it's like a drawn, so yeah, it's really cool, on one of my walls. And another, of course, was when Carl died. Like, I cried that whole episode. It's just heartbreaking for me.
Yeah, I've got something to say about that, but that's for me. That's well, we talk about it now as it's come up. That for me was a mistake in the show. I don't think they should have killed him, because
I don't think they should have killed him either.
No,
he was such a fantastic character, and he was the hope in a way. I know we have Judith and RJ, but Carl was the one.
Yeah, because we'd already lost Rick at that point, Andrew Lincoln.
I don't think we have. Isn't he? Yeah, he is in the scene when Carl dies.
No, but he leaves at the end of that season or the next season. He
Yeah,
leaves
yeah,
pretty soon after that. So we
yeah,
lose them both
yeah.
pretty
Too
close
soon.
together.
Mm,
Too soon, yeah, absolutely. And then we'll talk about the ending of the show in a bit and what that means, but there's a lot of different opinions about that. One of the things that it suggests is that Rick is dead. Another suggests that he is not. Regardless, he's out of the show, he's out of the narrative, and he doesn't appear in a tangible future timeline in the Commonwealth. We don't see him in a job or a role or whatever. Now, in the graphic novel, he's in it all the way through. He gets into the Commonwealth. He actually ends up, it's either him or Carl that ends up killing the governor's son, who is as corrupt and bad as he is in the show. And then somebody then kills Rick.
Yeah.
Or Rick is bitten and he's going to turn. I forget which, and I think Carl might have to kill him.
Oh, bless him, because he had to kill his mother as well.
Yeah, and it's oh my god, I've got these spam bots in here again. Let me just deal with that. Yep. There we go. This is when I need one of my moderators in. When we've only got a couple of people watching, I'll still get them. So yeah, so I wondered why they killed him, because there was a lot of discussion about that in production circles.
Yeah,
and you probably know that, working in the business, about why that happened. I don't want to voice too much of that, but I know that the actor was very surprised. He expected to continue being in the show.
Yeah, because some of the things I've read is that kind of he wanted to leave the show because of school and everything, so he can go to college or something like that.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
I don't know. Yeah, that's what I read.
Man, stay in the show, buy yourself a big house, and then go to college.
Well, he did. He bought a house in Senoia, where Senoia is the town where Alexandria was based, basically. So he and his family bought a house there, and they lived there during the filming.
And are they still there? I wonder.
Well, I don't know. Yeah.
So for me, in terms of see, one of the things I was really curious to see was whose head was going to end up on a pole.
Oh my god, that was that was a huge moment. You're right.
Now, if you didn't know that was coming, that's definitely one of the jaw-dropping moments of kind of a television show ever, because it's already been established that that's what this woman does to people, and then a load of people realize there's a load of people missing from the market. And I want to show you how this was done in the graphic novel. So this was in this issue, Life and Death, and that's the market which they decide to have between all the communities, because I think it's, they finally got peace, and let's get everyone together, kind of thing. And actually, at that point, I think Dwight he's like an active member of the community. So some scenes with him and Rick here. There he is. He even calls him Mr. Grimes. So he kind of actually stays on, and Neagen isn't killed, he's imprisoned. And it's actually Rick that insists that he's kept alive, because he says, because we have to become better. And I like that message, So
that's what they did on the series as well.
So this is the bit where the poles are discovered. In the artwork's just fantastic in this throughout this thing. And so you get this pan across, and these characters are all people that we've sort of met fairly recently. So these are what you would call your B supporting cast. And a whole load of them bite the bullet, right? So you kind of look at that and you go, oh shit, that's bad. And then when you turn the next page, all of these are pretty major characters, and that's Rosita.
Oh wow! So she dies on the pole.
Yeah.
Mm.
And some of the others as well in this picture are, people that have been with it a while, and then they see the last head
Mm-hmm.
on the thing, and that's an outline of the last head on the pole. Can you guess who that is?
I mean, it looks a bit like Michonne, but from that
Well,
angle,
you're close.
is it
It's
Ezekiel?
yeah,
Oh no! Yeah,
yeah, and
I
and
love
that's
Ezekiel.
I do as well, and that's when he died. I think his character was so popular.
Yeah,
That's probably why they
yeah,
couldn't kill him. And you can see like Marchand's there, and that
yeah.
issue ends with, what do we do now?
Mm. Is that how their relationship ended?
Um,
Does it
no,
end before?
not
Mm.
Marchand and Ezekiel had already broken up
Ah,
before that in the graphic novel, so they were together for a bit. He got too clingy. Marchand's not a clingy kind of girl, and so she kind of had to keep him at arm's length, and he was, very much along the lines of, look, just because we've slept together kind of thing,
yeah,
don't make assumptions. But they did that scene where they showed the passage of time at one point in Alexandria, where they showed everybody doing a routine, and for
mm.
a while life became normal.
Yeah,
And I thought that they covered that quite well, and that
mm.
sort of period happens after Negan's defeat and before they meet the Whisperers.
Yeah,
Because Carl actually does get his eye socket blown out,
yeah,
so he's wandering around like that a
mm.
lot in the show,
Mm.
and that's when he first meets one of the Whisperers, and he's got a gun,
Oh,
and it's the girl, the young girl that he falls for, who gets her arm lopped off in the final ep because she gets bitten. Who's Samantha Morton's daughter, effectively.
okay. So is it so her and Carl have a relationship then in
That's
the
yeah,
comic?
yeah,
Wow,
yeah,
nice. Yeah, and she
yeah.
she gets bitten in the end.
She got in the final episode of the show. She that's her, isn't it? That gets
Oh,
bitten in
okay.
the
You mean
arm.
in the yeah, yeah. I thought you
Yeah.
meant in the comics. Yeah,
In the
yeah.
comic, I can't remember what happens to her. I think she survives, and I think her and Carl become a thing.
Isn't he with Sophia? That's what I read somewhere with Sophia, Carol's daughter, that he ends up with her at the
Yeah, he
end.
might be. Do you know what? There are so many characters.
Yeah.
That would be issue 30. There's 32 of these. Yeah, and the last one's called Rest in Peace, and that's
Oh,
the
like the title of the episode.
Commonwealth.
Mm,
Sort of, I mean, the covers for this are just fantastic, and they always have these like nice shots on the back. It's a lot of
nice.
Commonwealth riders and that kind of thing. Again, that's a good example of sort of that type of narrative statement that it's almost like it's like a camera.
Yeah.
And the guy's being the director, and he says, we're cutting from this shot to this shot to this shot to this shot. I really like that style. And I mean, the other thing that they do really well in the graphic novel is the emotional faces of
Yeah.
the characters. That's Carl again.
Yeah.
Right near the end, and you might be right that he does end up with Sophia Marchand. At the in this, she ends up being like I can't remember if she becomes the governor or if I think she's more like the chief justice. She's like the main judge
Nice.
of the Commonwealth, and I kind of actually expected her to turn up and do that role. And then there's this statue to Rick,
Oh, yeah.
and it's quite interesting that how Robert Kirkman said he was going to end the graphic novel series was that after the battle with Neagen, that's when he wanted to end it. They were going to erect this statue to Rick, and Rick was going to be killed in the final battle with Neagen. And then he said, you were going to see this, you were going to pan out, and it would go further and further out in Alexandria, and all of Alexandria was going to be overrun by zombies.
Oh, wow.
So the ending of the graphic novel series originally was going to be the zombies won, and doesn't this suck? And he said, no, that was way depressing. So he decided not to do that. But the whole thing about how they take over the Commonwealth and defeat the governor, and this is the governor here, is much more. It's more nuanced and complex, and I think it's done a little bit better in the graphic novel. A lot of the same things do happen. You know, the city gets breached, and there's all that kind of stuff. But it's the city getting breached.
Yeah.
It's great artwork again. But so I some of my favorite moments were definitely in the last of the show. Were in the last season.
Okay.
But my top favorite moment has got to be the polls, I think. And the heads moving. Have you thought of any others before we move on?
Oh, I mean, I haven't been thinking, to be honest, right now. But just, I don't know, like, it's because now the first season comes to mind, and it's not like a specific moment, but just the world that they created and how they created it, with Rick just discovering everything when he comes out of the hospital, and there are all the bodies there and everything, like that image. Yeah.
That scene with the tank, where he ends up inside the tank after he goes to downtown Atlanta. And I mean, that does look like it was shot in downtown Atlanta, and they closed off the streets. Yeah,
it was. I was there in that specific location. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess they must have, done that really early, first daylight on a Sunday, probably closed the streets down, shot it in, 3-4 hours, and then boom, cleared it again. And I mean, that was in the first season. For me, that was really good that was in there, because they went big. And it was like, you are going to see stuff on this scale. So I thought, okay, cool, because I don't want to be wandering around fields with just a couple of zombies. And then the problem was, all of season 2 was pretty much, that's what it was. It was all set on the farm, wasn't it? Herschel's farm.
Yeah. But I like that as well, though. Yeah.
I didn't mind it because I knew what was coming afterwards. But
okay. Yeah.
But I think for a lot of people, that was when a lot of people tuned out. People said, "Oh, they still on that farm?" I was like, it was like 10 episodes ago, and we're still at the farm. And I mean, and the ending of that season was good. When they all came out the woods and everything. But it went from feeling big to becoming very compartmentalized, which I think some people had felt was a letdown. I wasn't concerned, because by this time I was reading about the war with Neagen, so I knew that was coming. 2-3 seasons time.
Yeah.
So, and I knew that all of these characters were going to have big arcs. So from a writer director's point of view, didn't bother me. But I guess for your more disconcerting viewer, some of them tuned out then. I mean, now we've seen the whole thing. So what are the things or the moments that you think the show could have handled better? So for me, I wish they hadn't killed off Carl. I guess it was a production issue that resulted in that. I personally would have liked to have seen him go right through to the series. If you were a producer, let's say, on the show, and the actor had to leave for unavoidable reasons, would you have gone the route of casting another actor in the part, or would you just said, okay, we have to kill him off?
Probably kill him off. Like, I don't think I would have cast someone else in the part.
It's been done in Game of Thrones, so
I know, but
a couple of times.
Yeah, potentially maybe like an escape, like they did with Andrew Lincoln and Michonne, like just and with Maggie, kind of the actors leaving, creating a storyline so that it has the possibility of coming back. But you never know if they will, so that might be disappointing if they don't, in a way.
The way that Maggie
Carl
came
got
back...
a great
Carl
got a great send off, in the sense of the heroism that he did in the fight with Negan. So that was really, and the episode was so emotional. Like, literally, I cried all the way through when he dies. Though I did find it so silly how he got bitten. So that was very frustrating that he just got bitten like that.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
that kind of happened in a very arbitrary way,
yeah,
and I felt that broke the rules of their reality a little bit.
mm,
I guess what they were trying to say is if you're not, I just thought of your name there. If you're not paying attention, it can just happen. I guess I could live with that, but you're right. It was a bit
yeah,
like, come on, he's been through these battles, da 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 da, and some
exactly.
didn't he get bit in the ankle by something on the ground? Was
He went kind of to kill some zombies, even though they didn't have to. But
yeah,
the doctor, the guy that then becomes a doctor, in order to honor his mother, he was killing the zombies that he was finding alive. So he said, "Okay, let's
yeah.
do this together." So they went to kill those 3 zombies,
That's
and
right.
he
Yeah, it was.
tripped, he
Yeah,
fell,
yeah, yeah,
and during that falling was bit on the body, and it
yeah,
just felt like that was so unnecessary. Like, yeah, as you said, he survived
yeah,
through all of this and then gets
yeah.
bit like that.
I mean, so talking about things that I felt they again really pushed the boundaries of their own reality. And when I use that sentence, by the way,
Yeah,
to give you an example of what I mean, is James Bond should have never skied off of a falling iceberg on the bottom of a missile hatch, which Pierce Brosnan did with this sort of glider thing. It was just complete nonsense, and just felt that that was not the reality of Bond's world. It
mm,
was nonsense. So um, in The Walking Dead, the number of times a zombie has suddenly appeared behind
yeah,
someone in the middle of a wood or even in an open field.
yeah,
Yeah, they're fighting a couple of other people, but somehow the zombie that was nowhere to be seen is now
yeah,
there.
yeah,
That
yeah,
happened quite a lot.
yeah, and they
Um,
make noise. They
they
make
make noise
noise.
and they make noise
They're
and they're also
slow.
quite slow. It's not
Yeah.
28 days later. They
Oh
can't
my god,
run.
that is terrifying. Like
That's
that.
great film.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, but terrifying.
I mean, we can talk about
Mm,
other zombie movies in a moment, but uh, I mean, so I mean, you hadn't read the graphic novels, so what attracted you to watching the show in the first place?
it's a very good question because I don't actually know. Like, I used to be terrified of zombies. Like, I would have nightmares of zombies after having watched Resident Evil and so on. So I think for quite a while I wasn't actually tempted to watch it, and I can't
Right,
remember why. At one point I felt like, why don't I give this a go? And I think there were a couple of seasons out at that point, but I'm not 100%. So I know I didn't start it when it started, but I don't remember how much into it I started. And when I
right,
did, I just thought it was brilliant because it wasn't just a zombie show. It was more about survival in a post apocalyptic world. And yes, in this situation, it was apocalypse by zombie, but it was a lot more about surviving, survival skills, relationships that happen, communities that get built, and also, communities that fight against each other in order to survive. And so I felt the human aspect of it. It was what grabbed me rather than just being a show about zombies. I don't know if that makes sense.
no, it does, because my next question is, what do you feel is the core message or theme of The Walking Dead?
No, there we go.
And Robert Kirkman talks about it in the pages in the back. There's in some of the back pages of these things. You know, there's always got this same message on the back
Mm,
of each one. No government, no grocery stores, no mail delivery, no cable TV.
yeah.
Um, and does anyone call it cable TV anymore? But he also there's a couple of issues that have come out where he's done a little paragraph about something, and even in this world, the greatest threat to humanity is still humanity. It's not
Yeah.
actually the zombies,
Yeah.
because they're all so busy fighting and killing each other.
Yeah, I know. That sometimes it's just like, come on. Like, even in this world, come on. Yeah.
Do you think that's a realistic depiction of what would happen?
I think in certain situations, definitely. Like, yeah, it's I definitely think there would be people just trying to take advantage and, you know, profit
I
in certain ways and make sure they
yeah,
survive in the detriment of others. But I
I
also
think
think, yeah,
I think
sorry.
in the United States, it's a very realistic depiction because I
Mm,
mean, if you've been there, and we'll talk about that in a bit, guns are so available over there. You go to Texas, you can
yeah,
walk into a store and buy an automatic rifle.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Gun show. There's a gun show when I went there a couple of months ago, and
yeah.
everybody walking around with AR-15 baseball caps. I was tempted to get one of those to add to my baseball cap collection, but I didn't want to say
Yeah,
that I was an advocate for automatic weapon ownership, which
yeah.
I'm not, unless in the face of a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, yeah. But I know what you mean because, in a way, I'm very curious to see because I thought about this as well. And I do a lot of stage combat. And especially after watching The Walking Dead, I've got my accreditation in stage combat and stuff like that as well because I feel it's very useful and doing archery and things. But I did
Mm.
think I'd be very curious. So I thought this before knowing the Daryl sequel is going to happen and it's going to take place in France. I always thought, I wonder how it
I did
will
not
be.
know that. I didn't know
Oh,
it was
did you
taking place
not?
in. I know about the sequel. I didn't know it was taking place in
It
France.
is. They're filming it as we speak. I actually told my agent if she can find anything, and I'm refreshing my French as we speak.
Yeah,
Oh,
and I'm
uh,
prepared to play a dead body, whatever.
exactly, exactly.
Just
Just yeah,
I'll be like,
yeah, yeah, exactly.
you know,
Yeah. So I always
wow.
thought I'd be curious how it would be in Europe, where people don't have access to guns and everything.
I think that's really
So
interesting.
yeah,
Yeah,
and also you've watched the world. Have you watched The World Beyond?
The World Beyond.
It's the other sequel to The Walking Dead, but it's kind of more targeted to teenager audience type, I feel.
No, I haven't seen any of that yet.
Well,
I
the
think that's
best
one of the.
part of it
That's got
are
some
the
answers to Rick's backstory
it
as well,
does.
isn't it?
It
Or
does.
what
It does.
happens to him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the best part of it are the last 2 minutes after the credits of the last episode, which actually sets up what happens in France for when Daryl will be moved there.
So
So
there's 2 seasons of this,
yeah, yeah.
and is this like the same format? It's like an hour show.
I think so, as far as I remember. To be
Yeah.
honest, it's a bit more targeted towards young adult audiences, I found. So I
Right.
didn't find it as realistic like
So it's
as
The
The
Walking
Walking
Dead
Dead.
meets River Valley or whatever that show's called, and um,
Riverdale, yeah, yeah.
Riverdale,
But more,
Riverdale. Right,
even younger, I felt, in the
right,
sense of there is a horde, and somehow these teenagers hide between things and they can escape that. While in The Walking Dead, that horde would have been an issue, like a serious problem. So I just felt like some of the things didn't quite match. But the last part of the second season is where you meet Janice again and you find out a bit about the backstory, a bit about the CRM that we're gonna or CMR,
no,
the Republic
CRM.
CRM.
Yeah,
Yeah, so we find out quite a bit about that, and then the last 2 minutes after the credits, you find out about France, and there is like a catch with the zombies in France. They're a bit different.
that's interesting.
Mhm.
Do we know different how?
We do. I mean, I could tell you, or you can watch that. So basically, what happens in those 2 minutes is you see a video of Jenna, who was the guy that was working for the CDC,
Yeah.
speaking to this French scientist or sending a message, one of them to the other. And the French scientist is in this building where it says it all started here or the dead were born here or something like that. I can't remember the exact words, but kind of to suggest that the apocalypse actually started there in France. And then there is this moment, I can't remember exactly, but literally, I think she runs out the door, and there is this person that turns into a zombie and literally runs after her, chase, and starts banging the door. So, kind of, they suggest they are faster, stronger, and have some memory, at least short term memory.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah.
So it's like a more stronger strain of the
Mm,
virus before it got diluted by
yeah.
those pesky Americans.
Yep.
That's interesting. I mean, it's a bit of a we're going to make it like 28 days later when they can do the Indy 500.
Yeah.
Not sure how I feel about that, but okay, interesting. See, now I knew that there had been other spin-off shows. I mean, Fear the Walking Dead. So there's The World Beyond. Is there anything else? I mean, we got the Daryl
Uh,
one coming.
Yeah,
Are there
there
any
is
others?
Tales of the Walking Dead, which I actually haven't watched yet. It's 6 episodes, and they're standalone episodes where you meet different characters. One of them being kind of backstory to Alpha. And then the other ones have different characters that we haven't met yet, or might never meet. So that's Tales of the Walking Dead. There are a
Yeah,
couple.
I can see it now. Actually,
Yeah,
yeah. There's 6 of them, like you said.
yeah, yeah.
And
And I
that
think there might be a second season. They're talking about that, even though I don't think it was as successful as they hoped it would be.
yeah, because
Uh,
there's a standalone graphic novel just about Negan that you can get
hmm,
as well. I
yeah,
haven't got that. That's one of the things I haven't
nice,
got.
nice.
I'd like to
Yeah,
get it though.
but speaking of Negan, there is a sequel called Dead City with Negan and Maggie that's gonna come out in 2023, and it's filmed in New York.
Right.
Uh, yeah. Uh,
Wow. There's
there,
loads. There's got
yeah,
loads
yeah.
coming.
There. So the Daryl.
It's going to be like Marvel.
Well, it is literally they're creating a universe, and there is also the Rick and Michonne one. Do you know there will be a sequel with Rick and Michonne?
I did not know that. I mean, the last thing I heard about that was they were going to do a feature film.
Yeah, they changed the plan. They were supposed to have 3 films, and they changed it
Yeah.
into this series that is going to have 6 episodes for the first season. And now there's
Right.
speculation: do they just plan to do a mini series or to have several seasons? So we don't know that yet. I read too much about The Walking Dead, don't I?
No. Okay. So yeah, and actually, I'm on the Wikipedia page now. So there's the Daryl Dixon show coming out, which is just called Daryl Dixon, which
Yeah.
is, I guess, everybody loves him. He's most people's favorite character.
Mm.
Rick and Marshawn spin-off. So, I mean, because okay, I mean, yeah.
So that's what they were setting up now at the end when you saw the Rick and Michonne. They were literally setting up the new
Well,
series.
Rick appeared to be in New York with that whole helicopter shot. He ended up on the banks of the Hudson for some reason.
Okay, I to be honest, I didn't recognize where he was. I don't know where
Well,
he was.
it was that kind of environment. It was a river in a major city, but it didn't look like Atlanta.
I know the Negan and Maggie is going to be set in New York, but I don't know about the Rick and Michonne one.
I mean, it could have been anywhere. It could have been any
Yeah.
city. It could have been anywhere. It was very, very ambiguous.
Yeah.
But you didn't see him get taken into the helicopter. You didn't know if the helicopter was part of the Commonwealth. It didn't have a logo on the side or anything.
We do see him on the helicopter in that episode where he's getting like drips in.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That was previously.
Yeah, like
But
many
Marshawn
seasons ago.
sort of the last shot of Marshawn is her. I mean, let's talk about the ending, seeing as we're on it. Last shot of Marshawn is her in samurai gear, steaming into a horde of thousands.
That looks so cool, doesn't it?
I mean, it looks cool, but it's also like somebody just saying, this is the way I'm gonna go out, because there's no way she's gonna, unless, we're suddenly gonna cut to a shot in our spin-off series where the camera pans around and she goes like, Rahiram, and there's like 1,000 of them on horses with samurai swords. Now that's a charge I'd like to see.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's gonna be the case. So I just thought, I don't know, man. I was expecting to, and I know why they've made these changes. The reason they've made these changes, you've just answered it, is because they want their spin-off shows.
Yeah.
So we can't make Marshawn a major judge in the Commonwealth, because what are they going to do then? Have a Marshawn Judge Judy drama show with Walking Dead scenarios? That doesn't really.
Yeah.
It could be quite funny, but I don't think that really would work. I'm not sure people would watch that. Rick ends up dying in the graphic novel eventually, but as part of the process of taking over the Commonwealth and making it better. So they're not going to kill him, because they want the. So Rick and Marshawn were these two really key characters that left the show and then weren't really integral to what happened to the Commonwealth, which is a massive departure from the graphic novel.
Yeah.
And the reason for that departure is we want our spin-off shows. That for me is a bit of a failure.
Didn't they leave because the actors wanted to leave?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. But the actors wanted to leave, but now they're coming back to do more spin-off shows.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're all mercenaries in this business. So I get it. But it just feels a bit, they weren't integral to the big ending of the main story, which is also the creation of the new world. That's what that's about. But they're going to be, but then we had characters in the show that were dead in the graphic novel that were key, because Ezekiel became the governor of the Commonwealth.
I like that. I like that Ezekiel became the
he was
governor.
born to play that.
Yeah. He was so. I love that actor as well. He was just so amazing as Ezekiel.
He's got amazing charisma.
Yeah, he really does.
So, I want to talk about another character as well, who was very key in the last couple of seasons. Princess, and they didn't introduce many new characters in The Walking Dead for quite a while in the graphic novel. So when you was going into the Whisperers and the Commonwealth stuff, there wasn't kind of many bits where they suddenly met a new group of survivors. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Princess was the last kind of new character who ended up as part of their gang, and this is when they meet her standing in the road with an M60 that they got introduced to. And as soon as I sort of met her character, this kind of like mad, crazy, offbeat lady, and it's Marshawn who's actually there at the time.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So she left the show by then, I think. And she is this kind of completely nuts person who just wants them to kind of like, she basically wants them to stay with her. She's really lonely. And eventually they say that she can come with them, and this is when she's packed and ready to go, and comes out and says, "I'm ready." And I really rated the actress that played her. And then when she joined the Commonwealth and you had the time jump, they got rid of her nuts hair, and it was like, I think you're right as well that Carl, I think he ends up with this girl, which is a different lady from the one who was with the Whisperers, I think.
Yeah, what I remember reading was that he ends up with Sophia, which another very striking moment, actually, what you asked a bit earlier, was when Sophia, Carol's daughter, comes out of the barn as a zombie after they've been looking for her throughout the season. Yeah.
You kind of knew she was in there, though. I figured that
out. But it's still like such a strong moment.
But when you saw her, that was
that
was very different. There's the bad boy Whisperer when he first turns up. Beta, I think it is in the. I mean, so I binge watched the last season in 2 days.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, I don't go to sleep much, and I think I was watching I watched about 9 episodes a day. There was 22, was there?
I think 24, wasn't it? Like 8. I think that's how they came.
Yeah, it might have been 2. It might have been 2.5 days, because I think I did about 9 a day. So I think I probably did. Yeah, on the last day, that's right. On the last day, I only had like 4 or 5 left.
Only.
I had it on. I've got a TV just to my left here.
Yeah.
And I had it on while I was proofreading my script, but I having to stop. I'm like, I've got to watch this bit. This bit's good. So
speaking of script, just because you mentioned this, I actually bought the script of the pilot. Well, I got it as a Christmas gift from my partner, and I literally watched it and read the script at the same time, just to be like, okay, what are the differences? What choices did the actors make based on what's written? Like,
is this a production? Is this a production script?
Well, the script that they sell, basically. So I think it is the production script, but I don't know.
But it's you're not saying you got an original production script that was issued.
No.
Right, I've got one of those for the pilot of Band of Brothers.
Oh, that's
that's like
cool.
from the set that's
Yeah.
numbered, and that is different. You can
Yeah.
see lines that have been deleted
Yeah.
or lines that were slightly changed when they got
Yeah.
into on the set in the post-production. So is the one that you were reading, was it identical?
Not identical, no. So there were some lines that were different. There were some bits, quite small, but some bits that weren't
Yeah.
in there or were different. Yeah. Which I enjoyed. I enjoyed finding those differences. I didn't want it to be identical.
No. I mean, do you think the ending of the show, it's an epic investment to watch this show? If somebody hasn't watched it before,
Yeah.
it's an epic investment.
I know. I
Does
always tell people, like, you have to watch it. You have to watch it. And people are like, okay, how many seasons? I'm like, 11.
Yeah, 11, and they're not short seasons. You know,
Yeah.
I think the shortest season might have what 10 episodes.
Well, the first one only has 6, but after
Right.
that, yeah.
Yeah, and then most of them are like 20, around 20 or 24. But you know, big investment. Does it deliver? That's the question. Does the end justify watching 100 and however many episodes it is?
I mean, it's not about the end, it's about the journey.
Well, that's very Lord of the Rings, but I think the ending of Lord of the Rings is good. And the journey is amazing. But do you come away feeling satisfied? Because I wasn't entirely satisfied. I think it's a big ask. There's a lot of characters. There was a lot of things they got right. I thought the Commonwealth looked really good. The production value was there. It didn't look cheap. They didn't. The character of the son was introduced as a complete arsehole too quickly. And he felt very one-dimensional for me. There was a bit more to him in the graphic novel.
Really?
And I felt that for me, there were things about it that were a bit rushed in the last thing. You could, I thought that they probably could have done with another season.
Yeah,
it's a bit like Game of Thrones, you know. It's a whole other conversation. But then there was a lot I liked about it. It wasn't like Game of Thrones where I thought, Jesus Christ, where did this go wrong? And so many bad things. You couldn't actually enjoy the end of the show, and that's a big commitment as well, you know.
Yeah.
So, this wasn't. I didn't finish watching Walking Dead thinking that.
No.
There was a lot of very satisfactory conclusions to a lot of arcs, but I felt like I forget the name of the character, the chunky guy with the beard, who we're suddenly reunited with him again. We haven't seen him for ages, and he's got his girlfriend, Luke, and he's got his girlfriend with him. And then
5 minutes later they die.
5 minutes later they die, and it felt like, yeah, you're a kind of C-list character, so you're going to be one of the ones we kill off, and you're the
we
fat
needed
bloke.
to kill someone, so come back just so you die.
Again, that felt very much to me like, we haven't got a part for you in any of our expanded universe scenario, so you can go. And,
I was heartbroken for Rosita, though. Like the last 3 weeks, because I was in America, so I couldn't watch the last 2 episodes until like 2 days ago.
Right.
The last 3 weeks or so, I kept feeling like, oh my God, I hope Rosita doesn't die. I hope Rosita doesn't die. I just had the feeling that she will die. And I was also worried about Carol, because Carol initially was supposed to be in the Daryl and Carol sequel. But then when they decided to change to film in France, she said she couldn't do that. So I thought like, oh my God, is this just kind of like a red herring to make me think that she's not going to die, but actually she is going to die. Right. So literally I've been living in fear for the last 2-3 weeks that these 2 characters were going to die. And Rosita did.
I suspected that Rosita, because she'd already ended up on a pole in the graphic novel, I just didn't think she was going to make it. I just thought it was quite, you know, you saw that she got covered in all them zombies, and as soon as that had happened, I thought she's been bitten. She's just not going to tell anybody.
But the moment with her and Eugene was beautiful, though. I was crying when he's like, he knew but kind of didn't want to say it, and
that was now okay. Here's another thing, and maybe I missed it. So they arrive at the Commonwealth. They set Eugene up with the fake lady who's pretending to be the woman that was on the radio. Who's white girl that's been given glasses, but is actually a ruthless serial killer assassin type with the bald man. The person who turned out to be on the radio was super hot black girl with glasses, which for me would have been absolutely fine. And then mean bald guy and assassin lady, who's now been revealed to be part of the intelligence apparatus of the Commonwealth, the kind of dirty tricks brigade. They kill all those people who turn into zombies that, kill those work people with silenced pistols and whatnot.
Yeah.
During the whole, then all the stuff that erupts. Now, I might have missed it. I don't remember them two getting their comeuppance.
I don't remember. I to be honest, weren't they amongst the people that were shot and turned into zombies? I don't remember.
No, they.
No, you're right, because they killed the
workers. You've got a load of workers in overalls.
Yeah.
And they're the two people that turn up and they kill them all.
Yeah.
So we have a small.
I don't remember, to be honest.
And then the various things happen.
Yeah.
And there's no scene where they get their comeuppance. That for me was a failing.
Yeah, I don't remember.
That for me suggested let's rush to the ending. And because that was a big thing that Eugene got set up and then had his heart broken by that woman who turned out not to be the woman, and he figured it out that he was set up.
Yeah.
And she turned out just to be this cold, ruthless person, but we didn't find out anything more about her. What was her backstory? And maybe we didn't need to know all of that, but I did feel like they needed to get done. Because they were part of the problem of the Commonwealth, was the fact that they had this intelligence apparatus, or kind of like the equivalent of the SS, whatever you want to call it in Nazi Germany.
Their symbol and everything really resembled. Yeah.
They were basically the dirty tricks department, and they would kill people if needs be, operating for Josh Hamilton's character. I love Josh Hamilton as an actor, by the way. First saw him in Alive, if you remember that, with Ethan Hawke, where they crashed in the Andes in the plane.
Brilliant I didn't know he was in it. I've seen the film, but a long time
ago. He's the one that walks out with Ethan Hawke at the end.
Oh, nice. I should rewatch that.
Yeah, plays Roberto Canessa. It's a great film, and I saw that on a massive screen. Didn't make me want to jump on a plane when I watched Alive. I did not travel on a plane for quite a while after that.
Yeah.
And would always make sure I had lots of chocolate and rations and things in my backpack. I just that was a big arc. The whole thing with him talking on the radio, and then this woman in Perth. That was a big arc, right? So how is it? You can't put a big arc like that in with a couple of villains like that, and not have some kind of resolution. Because if those people continue to stay in the Commonwealth, presumably they'd continue to do those kinds of things. So I had a bit of an issue with that. I felt like that was a loose end that didn't get tied up. Now it might be that we're going to get to see them somewhere else, and they're going to pop up in a different series as those characters doing nasty shit for someone else. Do you know what I mean? But and if that's the case, okay, look forward to seeing that. But I mean, looks like there's 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons of stuff I haven't seen. 3 more shows coming. I've stopped watching the Marvel stuff now.
Yeah,
because for me, I find that universe quite boring now.
Yeah,
because no one ever really dies, and it's just all sort of, the stories are all the same. But what for you were the bits of the ending that delivered?
Ooh, that delivered.
Whose outcomes were you happy with? Obviously, so you didn't like it that Rosita died.
I thought it was a great ending. Like, I didn't want her to die because I really like her character, and I would have actually liked her character to be more developed, like for us to see more of her throughout the series, because I thought she was such a brilliant character. So we could have seen her do more.
Yeah, she was quite a blank canvas a lot of the time, and I mean that's no disrespect to the actress, who I think was fantastic.
Yeah.
She didn't have a lot to work with, and she made her stand out with very little.
Yeah.
So I know what you mean. She was a bit underwritten.
Yeah, I think so. I think they could have done more. And apparently she's the one that asked for this ending for Rosita. She wanted an ending where she kind of gives her life to save the children, which is the hope and the future. So that was lovely. Like, even though I didn't want her to die as a character, I felt like it was a good ending. I actually expected Aaron or Gabriel to die. just because my understanding was their two characters kind of took over some of the bits that we had about Rick in the comics, including like the missing arm that I don't know what,
Yeah,
the missing arm.
Rick ends
Yeah.
up with that kind of spiky thing.
Yeah.
And Eren, I think, dies in the graphic novel before they get to the Commonwealth, or during the war with Neagen, maybe.
Okay.
I might. I mean, there's a lot of characters, so I get them mixed up. But I get them mixed up between the show and the comic sometimes. But I don't think he made it.
Yeah. So I expected one of them at least to die, which was all right. I don't know. It was just. I have to be honest, like the last season wasn't necessarily amongst my favorite, because if it was a bit too much like today's day and age somehow, rather than Apocalypse, and it felt like all those, like, I know Commonwealth was a bit different, or but somehow I don't know. Yeah, I would need to watch it again though to see how I feel the second time around watching it.
I mean, it's interesting you bring that up, because I have, a lot of friends who were big fans of The Walking Dead, and they stopped watching it after the war with the Saviors finished, which actually was when the graphic novel was originally going to end. And it's interesting that
I felt actually in the War with the Saviors, I got a little bored towards the end, when again it was just people fighting people, and it was less about survival, less about it was just fighting and shooting and that kind of stuff. I got slightly bored there. Like initially I loved when Negan appeared and everything, but then I felt it went a bit down for me. But then the Whisperers were just a different level. So I really enjoyed when the Whisperers appeared. But yeah, Commonwealth was just, I don't know. It didn't quite, seem as exciting to me as, like, I love kind of dystopian reality. So that's why maybe the Whisperers had such an impact, because they were so different to anything else. Well, the Commonwealth was kind of back to, which in a way that was the purpose, kind of to show how things are now and how that doesn't work in that world, and the corruption, the politics. Yeah.
Well, I agree that, I mean, Sam Morton was great casting as Alpha.
She was fantastic. My God.
She's really good at playing these kind of intense psycho types. I hope she'll forgive me for saying that. I've met her a long time ago.
Have you? That's so cool.
Back when she was filming Band of Gold. And I've met Kathy Tyson, who was in that with her many times.
Nice.
But I think the way that the Whisperer storyline was done in the show was as good, if not better, than the graphic novel.
Wow.
Obviously, they changed the thing with the poles, but I mean, like with the shot with the poles, you can't see the heads moving in the graphic novel, the way the jaws were all grinding.
Yeah.
And so that bit that was, I think that probably for me brought the series back up a bit. There were moments where I got more disengaged from the show from time to time, but I always found time to watch it. I would just wait till it all came out and watch it all in one go. I realized it didn't work for me if I didn't do that.
It's difficult because I love it so much, but then now that the new season is out, like, I can't wait for all of them to come. I have to watch, and I follow so many Facebook groups and Instagram and everything about The Walking Dead that I'm like, as soon as I open one of the social medias, I'm going to get all these spoilers, so I have to watch it as it comes out.
I mean, I don't, I'm a huge fan of a lot of shows, and I deliberately don't subscribe or are active members of group discussions, because I know that I haven't always got time to watch them, and I don't want to get all that information.
For me, this is the only one where actually I have. Well, I also follow Handmaid's Tale. I follow some, but this is The Walking Dead is my number one series by far. Like, by far. So I watch and read them all. Then
Okay, what are your top 5 TV shows then of the last couple of decades. So you'd put this at number one. Handmaid's Tale would be in the top five.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know now
what
that
else?
you're asking like that. I don't know. My mind just went blank.
No, I can think of.
Yeah, tell me
Well,
yours.
I've got a couple of them on the shelf behind me. So I'm a big. Well, they're hidden by my recent Lego purchase here. I went into town to buy a jacket. I came back with this.
Nice.
I'm a massive fan of the Michael Chiklis Shield TV show.
I actually don't know it. Maybe I should check it out.
You should watch it because it's got some of the best writing ever. And the person who became the lead writer on the show was Kurt Sutter. He started off with he did a small acting role in the show, and I think he joined the writing team, and then he penned a couple of shows, and then he was the head of the writing team. And you could really tell when his writing permeated the series because he was very good with the character arcs and very good with the cliffhanger endings. And he is the creator of Sons of Anarchy.
Oh, okay.
Nice. And Sons of Anarchy is another very well-written show with great characters, great arcs.
Yeah, I've watched Sons of Anarchy. Well, I've watched about 5 or 6 seasons of it, and I always say I need to re-watch it so I can continue.
Yeah, I mean it's a show that you definitely should see the last.
Really?
Yeah, if you can, you should see the last episode of it because it's the last episode of it is great.
Really?
Yeah, and it's one of those. It's basically based on Hamlet.
Oh, okay.
So the
spoilers.
The whole.
Tell me spoilers.
Kurt Sutter says that. He says that Jax is basically Hamlet, and it's the mother is Gertrude, and so he very
now
much.
I know how it's gonna end.
Well, I mean, it's Sons of Anarchy. No season of it ever ends well for anybody.
Yeah.
So it's but I mean, it's interesting. This is the issue that is the one that covers the war with the saviors. There's this one and there's another one, and this is actually called All Out War.
Yeah.
And that's the moment where the zombies come back into it, and that's Neagen going, "Oh fuck," So and they all come in storming through this gap, which I think was arranged by Rick deliberately. So they did come into it. There's Ezekiel's tiger arriving.
Aww, yeah.
Sheba, yeah, which is felt very Tarzan. That and that's a good shot of a lineup of Rick's army.
Yeah.
I really got to read these again, but it's going to be traumatic because so many of the characters that you care about in this show, but both the TV show and the graphic novel, so many of them die.
Yeah.
But that's a good thing for me in a drama.
Yeah.
Knowing a character can die any time I think is great.
Yeah. I think the fact that I knew so many of these sequels were taking place, I knew Daryl wasn't at risk. I knew Negan, Maggie, Rick, Michonne. I knew all of those will survive, which kind of took a bit away from the tension of everything that was happening.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't as up to date on the spin-off stuff. I knew there was no way they were going to kill Daryl.
Yeah.
You could do a prequel show about Daryl's life in a biker gang with no zombies in it, and people would watch it.
Yeah.
But the rest I had no idea. So I wasn't. So that is a little bit. Perhaps. Did that kill some of the tension for you?
It did. For example, when you have the episode that Negan once says, "I'm the one leading the rebellion," and they are about to kill him and his wife and everything. And I'm like, well, I know he's not getting killed because there is a sequel. So, yeah, it did take away a bit.
Yeah. Well, you got to visit the sets in Atlanta.
I did.
So we've been on over an hour already. We haven't even talked about that yet. So when did that happen? I mean, is that, and you they did some. I think you've
Yeah.
been to a Walking Dead museum in New York.
Yeah, I've been to a few things. So in June, one of the films I wrote, directed, and acted in was shown at the film festival in Paducah. And I thought, fantastic. This is just like a few hours drive from Atlanta. So I thought it was the best opportunity. So from that film festival, we drove to Atlanta and went on a VIP tour of the filming locations. And some of them are in in Atlanta
Mm,
itself, and then some are in Senoia,
mm.
which is the small town where they filmed Alexandria, so where Alexandria is based. And I literally, and then again, I went to America a month ago to a different film festival, and because a hurricane came, I couldn't actually go to Miami to the film festival, and we had to drive
Yeah.
north. And while we were driving north, we stopped again in Senoia because this time they had taken the first time I visited Senoia, they had the walls up, the walls of Alexandria up, and you weren't allowed to go inside to visit. Well, this
Ah.
time the walls had come down, and I got to actually visit inside as well.
So was that set an actual? They were actual houses,
Yeah,
and they built a wall. I mean, so what
yeah.
happened to the people that were living in them while they were?
My understanding is that they were given a large sum of money either to relocate somewhere else or they would still continue to live there, but out of sight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would have been like, I'll live here, but I want to be an
yeah,
extra in the show. I'll be one
exactly,
of the
exactly.
Alexandria extra,
Yeah,
wander
yeah.
around with a gun
I
and stand on
understand
the
a lot
tower.
of the people that live in that town actually were extras on the show. One of the guys that did the second tour was an extra on it on a
Right.
few scenes. Yeah,
Yeah, you would okay. So you would
yeah.
you would think so.
Mm.
So you said VIP tour. Is that a tour like anyone can take, or is that something you
Uh,
got because you were in the industry, or how did that
No,
work?
no, it's a tour that anyone can take, but it's quite expensive. But I felt like it's worth it because in my head I was like, whenever am I gonna be here? I love this series so much, I have to go. So yeah, it was just two of us on the tour and the
Right.
guide. And actually the guide, he was fantastic, Mickey. He was basically it was between him and another guy to be in The Walking Dead playing a character. What's the name of the character? Is it Nick or something? Which is basically the guy. If you remember, Glenn and this guy were on the garbage containers, and the guy shoots himself, falls over Glenn, and we think Glenn has died. When
Yeah,
it's
that was
obviously
quite early on.
yeah, it's
In the yeah.
yeah. So basically, this guy, it was between the actor that got the part and our guide. So he had lots of
So
stories. He
so he says.
Well,
Um,
so he says.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
allegedly
yeah,
between him
allegedly.
and
Yeah.
yeah.
And he actually knows Melissa, the actress that plays Carol. So he took us because I told him my favorite character was Carol. So he took us also to the house where Carol, when she tries to go away from the communities and isolates a bit, and
Oh yeah,
Ezekiel
yeah,
gives her
yeah,
house. So
yeah.
I got to visit that one as well, even though it wasn't part of the tour. Yeah, we visited the CDC, which is not the actual CDC in Atlanta, but the building that they
That
had
building
as
that
the
they
CDC.
that doubled for the
Yeah, yeah,
CDC. Yeah.
yeah. We visited the hospital, which again is not a hospital, but the door that Rick comes out of and goes down the stairs in his hospital gown. Um, yeah, it
Yeah.
was great. We visited what were the streets of Woodbury, which again was in Senoia, and just a street that was blocked with the houses there. So yeah, we visited quite a bit.
It's interesting because I'm on Google Earth
Hmm.
and I've got the city of Sonoya up, and also that I've also got the Walking Dead. Think I've located the so yeah. Let's have a look. I'm going to share my screen. Let me put this as a separate window. There we go. So, and for all you people watching at home, which is 3 right now. Thank you for tuning in, by the way. Don't feel free not to go and pester the locals at these locations. So this is the town of Sonoya. Now, if I remember rightly, it's actually up in these woods. There you go. Look, this is the Walking Dead studios. See here. And then if you go up here, you'll see here is Hilltop. There is the Hilltop set, still intact. And that's one of the benefits of Google Earth being quite old. So you can see that it's partially destroyed. So all the caravans that were intact when they first got there have been burnt out. So that would be after the attack by the saviors. And it's interesting as well that you've got two different gates so that they can do different shots depending on where they want the light to be. Because with these trees being hemmed in here, and I'm suspecting that this gate and this gate have probably doubled as the same gate for different shots. This would have been where all the crops were, all that kind of thing. There's another set there. Not sure what that is, like a burnt out house. But yeah, I went round all of these, and you can actually, when you look at certain places, like, you know, you can tell that they filmed along this road because you recognize these fields and the trees and I mean, it's a great place to film Atlanta because it's got such a different range of terrain and stuff like that. And you visited the train track, didn't you? That
I
pops up
did. Yeah. I did.
And was that in Sonoya?
Oh, it was. Yeah. Yeah, that's
So
where they filmed when they were walking along the tracks to get to Terminus. It's those train tracks. And actually, also in Sonoya, they filmed fried green tomatoes as well. Tomatoes.
God, I haven't seen that in.
Oh, it's a great film.
And no, I mean I've seen it, but I haven't seen it since it came out. That's a long time.
A long time. Yeah. And do you see Nick and Norman's on your map? Do you see there, just in the middle of your map at the moment, Nick and Norman Sonoya? Just lower. Yeah. That is the restaurant that Norman Reedus, who plays Daryl, and Nick, who was the makeup and then producer and director. It's a restaurant that they opened, and I've been there as well. I ate the Norman burger made vegan because it's vegetarian.
We might have a quick look on a street view of that in a minute. Which is the bit that they walled off then? With the houses.
So I am terrible with directions, but basically this main street where Nick and Norman's is, it's where they literally filmed, and Woodbury Shop is the shop where you buy merch. So this street, I think, again, I'm terrible with directions, but I think this is the street where they filmed, what's it called? Where the governor was.
Woodbury.
Yeah.
That looks.
So that is the one, and then the gated, I think, is to the left, but I'm terrible with directions. So.
Oh yeah, here we go. Alexandria, Walking Dead.
Okay, there we go. There we go.
Yeah. All right, and you can see the fence. Look along here, and these were a load of the houses that would have. People would have. Let's go. Let's have a quick.
I can show you some photos as well if you want to see. But I'm in all of them. Sorry.
Oh, that's all right. Well, it's your prerogative. And here we are. Look, here's the Walking Dead set. Coming soon. We're going to build. Look, coming soon. We're going to build some houses there now. It's already happening.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, this is a piece of television history. I think they should keep it. Much more valuable.
They've already torn down the walls and the mill and everything. The mill was already down the first time I visited.
Actually, and you can see, once I've moved into it, you can see it's actually, they've taken the walls down, and what a shame. But yeah, that's so that was the section of the town that they. Oh yeah, and here's the train tracks.
Yeah,
there you go. So there's the train tracks that run through the town, and these are old, are they? Because it doesn't look like they.
No, they're not used now.
Yeah, so there's probably various discontinued sections of it, and there's another one. That's the one. Yeah, that must be the one where they're always walking along the woods,
and possibly. Yeah,
I'm sure this junction must have been used. Let's have a quick look.
And everything is in that area. Like
they definitely filmed here.
Yeah.
remember this. Yeah, I mean that's clever, isn't it? That they found this place and it
Yeah,
offered all these
like they
different
really used it like
things.
every corner. Like they filmed Negan's house in the episode where we get to see a bit of Negan's backstory. It's there in the area, like not far. They filmed the pudding house where Carl eats pudding. You know, like all of these. Like at some point we were in at a corner and they filmed this big scene. I can't remember exactly what on this corner and this other big scene on the other corner of the same building. Like yeah, that's the Nick and Norman.
Nick and Norma's looks
Yeah.
very popular, eh?
Well, yeah, like, and you
Yeah,
can see people dressed up as the characters and like
and
fans that,
this is actually owned by
yeah,
Norman Reedus.
yeah, yeah.
I love that. I love that it's nice that he's kind of, he's giving the town
Hmm.
some business by way of thank you. I mean, I'm sure he does well out of it himself, but it's nice. Not many
Yeah,
people would do that sort of thing. Yeah, this does look very familiar.
yeah.
I have met David Morrissey, who played
Oh,
the governor.
yeah.
He was an unusual choice because the governor looks very different in
Oh, does
the
he?
graphic novel. Yes, have you seen him?
No.
Let me find him. I think he's on the cover of one of them. And yeah, I mean, he's not the same. I liked the way that they did the episode where he went and took over the he took over one of his old people had sort of got out and started up his own little group, and then he kind of took it over, and then he also turned those people against Rick and tried to make out that Rick was the bad guy.
Yeah.
This is the governor in the. Let me just stop sharing for a second. Take this down. This is the governor in the graphic novel. This is him here, where Marshawn's got the drop on him.
Yeah.
And he can't. I mean, he kind of looks like a long-haired pirate.
Yeah.
Sort of character. This is him.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, because it is.
I mean, there's something about Morrissey that's got his presence.
Mm.
But
I think it was a good choice because at least, like, otherwise maybe Negan and the governor would have been too similar, or yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, they are very, very different characters in the graphic novel. They've both got dark hair, but Negan's got very short hair and is absolutely massive.
Okay.
And I did say to my friend Craig Fairbrass, who's a huge behemoth of a man, but he, I said to him, you would be perfect to play Negan. And if you Google Craig Fairbrass and see who he is, you'd see what I mean. And he's got the graphic novel Negan. He's got his face. But I don't think he wanted to be away from his family for that long. So it was never something that he pushed. But he would have been a very good choice.
I understand Jeffrey Dean Morgan was just offered the part. They went to him and asked, do you want to be in The Walking Dead? And he asked, is it Negan?
Yeah, because Morgan had played like a lot of nice guys, a lot of romantic leads, and Negan is kind of a sadist who has a great arc of redemption and a great backstory that made him become the way he is. So there was a lot of really interesting stuff there. He wasn't as black and white as he first appears, but he also just knew what to do to survive or to take out another group, find the strongest member of the group and kill them, and then demoralize the rest. And definitely Morgan is one of my favorite actors just generally.
Yeah.
And he comes across as such a nice guy.
Yeah. He's lovely. He's the one I got the autograph from. Well, my friend did it. When we went. So besides that, I went to Comic-Con in New York. I literally, when I found out Comic-Con was happening and they were having a Walking Dead panel, I postponed my flight with one day just so I get to see that.
Now that's a fan. That's a hardcore fan right there.
You don't know it, like how hard it was to get tickets because they were sold out, and trying to find tickets and try to activate them, and then all the stress of, because we couldn't do reservations to reserve a place anymore. So I had all this anxiety. What if, I've made all of this, we get there and we can't actually go in? in because it's already packed. So I went into a different panel earlier just to assess the situation and see how many people get in, how many people have reservations, because that one was sold out as well. So a
Right.
lot of anxiety, but it paid off, and we got in, and I was in like the first few rows, and I got to see them, and it was Neagen and Maggie and Daryl and Princess and Mercer, Connie, like it was just Yumiko. So I got to see all of them. It was so cool. Like this was just like a month ago as well.
Yeah, you've got some pictures of some of that stuff. Do you want to
Yeah, sure.
share those with me, and we can
Let me see if I
let's.
can figure
I mean,
that out.
I
So
have.
do you want to see from the sets as well, or should I go
Well, I'll tell
straight
you
to
what.
the?
I might be able to do it. You sent me a load, so let me just see if I can
Yeah,
share
because
the
I think
ones
I've
I.
sent you some of the ones from the
I'll see
Comic
if I can
Con.
share this stuff, and then
If not, let me know.
so here, this is you on the set of Alexandria. Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And as we can see,
So
it's
that's
much
inside after they took
yeah
down the walls, and we were allowed
much
to go in.
improved, and now houses are available at discounted rate.
Yeah.
Zombie blood on walls optional.
Hmm.
And then we have the train tracks, famous
Yep.
train tracks. Clearly, you're just checking out your balancing issues, make sure everything's in order there. This is the CDC.
Yeah.
So it's convenient that there were two dead bodies in front of it.
Mm.
That I remember when that building blew up in the first season, and that CGI effect did not look very good.
Did you not?
No,
I liked it. Yeah.
It didn't look. I looked at it. It was a bit cheap. That
Yeah.
effect. Yeah, it was. I don't think that of age well. There you are. Look at that shirt. I like that T-shirt.
I'm wearing it now. I thought,
Yeah, but I can't. I
actually
couldn't see the
thought.
whole thing. Here we can see it in action.
Woo, exactly.
Now that location behind you, that's been used in about 9 episodes.
That is actually the hospital where he comes down and walks down the stairs. I realize I sent you actually a photo which is just focused on me instead of the background. But yeah, literally,
there's
I'm
the
coming down
stairs.
those stairs. Exactly.
Reenacting the scenes there.
Yeah,
This
was written on the wall.
Oh, now I wonder if that was written in the show or someone else came along. And I'll tell you what,
Well,
the
I'm sure
world
someone
does.
else came along because there's a lot of graffiti now on those stairs, and that was one of them. Do you recognize this bit?
Yeah, that's downtown Atlanta, isn't it?
Yep, exactly where. So it's the same street where they filmed the tank, and literally this
Tank and the
photo is
horse.
taken exactly how the photo with Rick was taken. So he looks there at that building, and then you see a helicopter shade on the reflection of the building.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that. Oh, I've lost them now. We're back on my Facebook page, so I don't know if that was all the ones that you sent me. Maybe.
I mean, I can show you some more if you want.
Yeah,
I think I've sent you the one with Daryl in the background that I'm very excited about. I'm
do you mean as in the actor Norman Reedus?
Yeah. From Comic Con, when I saw them there, it was really cool. I'm just sending myself now some back on my. But yeah, shall I show you? Let me see if I can figure out how. So, for example, we'll do this. And let me see if I can share it. You show me how to share screen.
Yeah, let me remove
there we
this
go.
one.
Can you see?
Yes. Okay, so we can add that. There you go. Well, hey, so that's of course very famous view, which also appeared on a lot of posters. And
yeah, that's the poster for the first season. And now, do you see what I open, or what do you see when I share? What do you see at the moment? Is it the same one? Yeah, so now I have to change. Do I need to stop sharing and
no,
share
you
again?
can just you can just share again, or you can just flick to the next photo while it's up there, and unless that's going to suddenly reveal anything you don't want anyone to see.
No, but it didn't. Yeah, so the door, and it has all sorts of autographs from the people that were in it.
Right.
Just change photo.
Dead done open inside.
Yeah. Let me see if I can open it like this, and maybe now I share, then I might be able to do what you suggested. Just bear with me.
That's right. I will go onto your profile and just see if, because you put your Walking Dead photos are kind of up in your general photos,
Yeah.
are they not?
Do you see this one I just shared now? Do you see the photo, or
This
do you
is
just see the folder?
that's a folder with a lot of pictures.
Ah, okay.
So if you want to don't keep sharing that, you can click onto the various photos and we can check them out.
So if I do this now, did it
Yeah.
open the photo or the? No, it's still keeping you on the.
Oh, I see. Hence the issue.
Yeah.
Oh, that's annoying. Oh well, welcome to the wonders of StreamYard. So your visit there was that this year?
Yeah. All of these were this year.
So when were you over there in Atlanta? What month?
So the first time it was in July, when I went for
Right.
the film festival, and then I went again a month ago when I went to the other film festival when the hurricane happened. So
So
that
you were
was
there. What, you were there
September.
October? Oh, okay. All right.
So
There
this
we
is
go.
Terminus.
Oh yeah.
And
That's right.
like you could still see some of the writing there, like in person, the writing of Terminus.
And these again, these are all sets in the Sonoya area. Is that right?
Yeah, everything was there. So
Yeah.
all of the ones. Mhm.
I'm looking at your pictures online, and there's a huge amount of stage combat going on.
There is.
And people in woods, which all looks very kind of Walking Dead preparation orientated.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, like I got a lot of stage combat certification with the British Academy of Stage and Screen Combat. So I'm ready for whenever they want me in one of the sequels. I am ready.
Yeah, I've got a friend who runs a lot of stage combat courses as a stunt director called Dan Stiles.
Okay.
Don't know if you've
The
come
name
across.
sounds familiar.
Yeah, well,
he's not the main one I
there's
trained with.
two stunt people I would definitely recommend working with. Would be Dan Stiles and Steen Young are the two that I would put at the top of the list. And I've worked with both of them, and they're both fantastic. So there's another photo. Let's have a quick look at that one. So is that? I mean, that's Wall of Alexandria, I'm going to guess.
Yeah.
I mean, that could have been part of Hilltop as well. You wouldn't really have. Oh, well, Hilltop's made of wood
Isn't it?
predominantly.
Trees. Yeah.
Yeah. So prior to getting into The Walking Dead, what had you seen other zombie shows and films? Are you a fan? I've got to ask you this question: are you a fan of the work of George A. Romero?
I mean, I know who he is, but I'm not sure if I've actually seen them. It might have been. I remember my mom was absolutely terrified when I was growing up after she watched. Is it Night of the Walking Dead? No,
Yeah,
not of the
that's
Walking of the.
Night of the Walking Dead is the
Is it?
really small first low budget
Mm,
zombie film that was ever made. Actually, it's the
yeah.
first ever zombie film. And then you had Dawn of the Dead, which was a bigger budget, and then Day of the Dead, which came out in the late 80s. Dawn of the Dead came out in the mid to early 80s. I think it was 82, 83. Dawn of the Dead is the one with all the bikers and the shopping mall, and Day of the Dead is the one set in the army nuclear missile base. Now, both of these films, forget Night of the Living Dead, it's all right, but it's very old, it's very grainy, it doesn't look particularly great. So it's not a great rewatch. It's a you can admire it for what it is, but for someone like you who wasn't brought up on these films to then come and watch them now, that's not going to work for you. But Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead are excellent, and you could literally pick those films up and put them in Walking Dead timelines and say, this is a shopping mall in Walking Dead. this is a nuclear missile base in Walking Dead, and this is what happened there. The zombies have all the same abilities. The makeup is of a similar standard. It's not, because the techniques weren't as advanced in the 80s, but so it's not as good, but it's good. And I mean, you've got some amazingly gory scenes where people get pulled apart and eaten and shit. And there's a couple of really gruesome ones of those in Day of the Dead. Dawn of the Dead's got a few. And then they did a sequel. So there are 4 films set in that universe altogether, which I'm trying to remember, but it was set in a tower block with the richer people living up on the top and the poorer people down towards the bottom. And it was like a fortress. And I think Paul Giamatti was in charge of it or something. It was
interesting.
I mean, if you haven't seen those films, you should definitely watch them because you'd probably get a lot out of them.
Interesting.
And
Okay.
it would be like watching a feature film set in The Walking Dead, but just not with any of the characters but with some other fun characters.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Daryl type characters in Dawn of the Dead. Have you seen any other zombie films, or in fact, there's another TV show called Black Summer? Have you seen that?
I think I only watched the first episode and then I kind of stopped for that.
That show, which is made by a production company that's known for doing low budget stuff, Asylum. I think Asylum have got something to do with Black Summer. Do you know what? It's surprisingly good. I watched the first step and this is a bit, it's all right. It's not great. And then I watched 3 of them, and I realized what they'd done was they filmed the whole thing kind of in real time. So you'll follow this one character, you'll come back round down the same street that you appeared in episode 1, and that thing you saw in episode 1 is now happening.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
So they did something a bit different with it, and I really liked it. It was quite clever.
Okay.
Let's pop this. So this is you going, oh my God, I'm so close to people.
Yep. That's exactly what was going on.
Is that Daryl on there?
It is
Daryl.
Yeah.
With the audience?
Yeah.
And who's that in the checkered shirt there? Is
that it's Scott Gimple, I think. Is it?
Oh, from the production.
Yeah, he's the main guy basically with the storylines and everything.
Was Angela Kang there?
She wasn't there. No, she wasn't there.
She's a pretty big honcho on the show as well. Fantastic. So I mean, so for someone who hasn't watched the show, I guess we both probably. I mean, you definitely recommend it. I recommend it with some caveats.
Yeah.
And I actually think it's better for you to watch the show first, then read the graphic novel. Because if you read the graphic novel and then watch the show, that way round, you're going to be more disappointed.
Yeah.
Because there's more negatives that way round. So that's maybe why. If I'd done it the other way around, I would have been I would have given it a slightly more higher rating. Yeah. I still think the show's very good, really good casting. I just think it's a shame that some of the narratives, I think, were guided by the actors' ambitions of other projects and contract disagreements and that kind of thing, and that we didn't get to see some of the storyline narratives with some of those characters that maybe we could have. Yeah. But that's going to happen in a show that big with that many seasons, and if someone's career isn't particularly well known in America, which Andy Lincoln was not when he started Walking Dead, everybody knows who he is now.
Yeah.
So so what have you got, before we wrap up, what have you got going on yourself? What have you got coming out? You said you had a short film that's just been out. I mean, is there a trailer for that we can have a quick look at anywhere, or
not at the moment? So the main thing actually that I'm working on and have been working on for a while is a TV series called Psyched, which I wrote, directed, produced, and also played the lead in alongside 100 other actors.
You like me, you like doing a lot, don't you? You don't make it easy. Don't make it easy for yourself.
Yeah. And so it's with that series that we just went to Miami Film Festival where I won Best Actress.
Right.
But the series itself, so the pilot is the one doing the festival rounds, and we already have over 50 festival wins and official selection. And we won for Best Pilot, Best Series, Best Lead Actor, Best Lead Actress, Best Directing, Best Script. So we've won a lot of awards. And I'm in
Well, it sounds like
post-production with
most of those
episodes.
awards would have gone to you because I think you were the
I
writer and
mean,
the lead
hey.
actress. Don't know what's
Well, we
this
also
wee
won Best
business.
Ensemble Class and
Right.
Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, Best Supporting Actress. So we've won some other
So
things as well.
this show that you're working on, it's already a series or it's a pilot or
It's a
where's it
series.
at?
So basically, we filmed the pilot 2 years ago, and it's the one doing the festival rounds. And then last year,
Okay.
we filmed, well, last year and this year, we filmed episodes 2 to 8, and they are in post production now. So they're in different stages, like color grading. Some episodes are the sound design, or one of them still is in the edit phase. So I'll have 8 episodes when it is all
And I
ready.
mean, okay, so pitch me the show. What in a nutshell?
So
What
the
is it
show
about? Why should I watch it?
Yeah, the show is a medical drama with elements of comedy, but based entirely on psychiatry. And it is written by a consultant psychiatrist, because I'm also a consultant psychiatrist, with over 12 years experience in the NHS. It's filmed at the Maudsley Hospital in a great part of it. It's filmed there. It
Right.
has a lot of diversity in it, both as storylines as well as in front of behind camera. We have LGBT people, we have people of color, we have people with disabilities and mental health issues. Um, yeah, I think in a nutshell, that's it.
In an okay. So it's kind of a would it be right to say it's like a darker version of Grey's Anatomy? Would that?
That's a very good way of describing. Not, I don't know if necessarily dark. I mean, there are some dark elements, but I do compare it like to Grey's Anatomy, House MD, but slowly focusing on mental health.
Well, mental health's a big thing right now. I've had my own struggles with it, and as someone who has always been, quite a big, strong character, and sort of not, you don't think these things are going to happen to you, and as a man as well, it's not something we're supposed to talk about. As men,
Yeah,
we're supposed to be tough and protectors and all this kind of
yeah.
thing. Yeah, I had I just had a series of events in my life that when they stacked up, they just became overwhelming, and
Mm,
and it's quite easy to get in that situation, and easier easier than I thought, perhaps. Um,
yeah.
and I think there's a lot of merit in doing a show that explores that, and it will be interesting to see how that develops. And I mean, presumably you have a pitch pack for it, and you're not trying to knock on the front and back doors of the usual suspects, Netflix and so on.
I mean, that's
Um,
kind of what I want to do. I don't exactly know how to quite yet. At the film festival in Miami, we had the opportunity to actually pitch it in front of some industry professionals, and we did really well in the sense of the feedback we got and everything. So we got to
mm,
pitch it in front of people working at Paramount and at Warner Brothers.
mm.
So I'm going to take some of that feedback and yeah, see where we go. I
Now
don't know yet,
that's
but
yeah. I
fingers
mean, what
crossed.
what what was the feedback like for the show?
It was good, like with some of the people. So the person working at Warner Brothers, she wants to keep in touch. So I'm gonna message her. I've kind of been postponing it. I mean, I only came back on Tuesday from America, and I thought maybe I'll do it today or next week just to follow up. But she said she really liked the idea and wanted to start a conversation. And then I had someone else from India that also wants to discuss it further. So
Well,
we'll
I
see.
would definitely start those conversations,
Yeah,
because if you leave it too long, we're not that
yeah, I
far.
know
As we get into December, all people think about is Christmas, and
exactly.
then everything's next year.
Yeah,
Everything's
yeah,
next year,
yeah,
and so got to seize the ball by the horns,
yeah.
as it were. I think. Well, look, we barely scratched the surface. Really, we could talk a lot more. Might have to do a sequel.
Mm.
episode, and because I've got a lot of catching up to do. I've got probably two
You
seasons
do.
of Fear the Walking Dead to watch. I haven't seen Beverly Hills 90210 Walking Dead. The other one you told me about, Riverdale
No.
Walking Dead. So
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah.
So that'd be interesting to check out.
Mm.
And then, of course, we've got these other shows coming. Daryl in France definitely appeals. I mean, he's got to have his motorbike, obviously. And I
He
wonder
has
which
to.
part of France they're talking about. But
Mm.
I've been to France for quite a few recce's. Funnily enough, in fact, Pegasus Bridge, which is the screenplay that I'm currently proofing because it's going to be out in a few weeks.
How exciting.
This side of Christmas. This was for a film that never happened.
Mm.
And we worked on it full time for 3 years, and it got bogged down in financial things and
Oh, man.
cretins and
Yeah.
that sort of stuff. And but I've decided to release the screenplay, so that's coming out soon. And I went to France to scout for locations for that many times, and I love the different types of
Yeah.
architecture in France and the high grey stone walls you get in Normandy and all that kind of thing. And I like it a lot. So I'm interested. I'm certainly interested in this thing. I mean, you've got your partner is quite tolerant of your Walking Dead / Daryl obsession, as any man would have to be, because you sent me a picture and you've got all these signed things on one section of the house. How much of your house does the Walking Dead impede into?
I mean, most of it is in my room on the wall.
Right.
But in the living room, we do have a few things as well.
And have you got like any of the figurines of Rick or
No,
those rare?
that's where I drew the line.
Right,
I have the badges, I have stitches, I have many T-shirts. I have, I think, like 15 T-shirts and tops and everything. It's gone a bit too far. But at this point, my partner also gives them to me.
I've got one Walking Dead T-shirt, but I do have all of the graphic novels that you do not have. And
True.
And that Walking Dead T-shirt, which I was going to wear today, no longer fits me. Thanks for the pandemic. So yeah, it's too small. It's too small. It did shrink after I washed it the first time. I remember thinking
that's what happened.
Yeah, and now I've realised with those T-shirts with a big print on, always get one size up from what you need, because they do shrink in the wash because the prints tend to shrink. So that's. But and is he as big a fan as you? That's the question. No.
Okay. But we did watch the whole of it together, so at least
so
indulges me in it.
At the end, he was like, "Thank God that's over," or
Potentially.
And what's his favorite show?
I don't actually know. Potentially The Office, but I don't know necessarily. Not quite as big on TV as I am.
He's only my partner. I don't talk to him, you understand. We just, share the same space. But as long as I get the television, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, look. No, I know, me too. So look, this has been a lot of fun. And I tell you what, we'll do another one of these when I've seen all of Fear of the Walking Dead.
Yep. Looking forward to it. I'll just rewatch them all so that I'm up to date.
There were some things about Fear the Walking Dead, I'll say quickly before we go, that I liked better than The Walking Dead. And although they made the most of all the Atlanta locations and everything, that terrain in Atlanta, the low rolling terrain, lots of forests, etc., it does look very similar. You always felt like you were in the same part of America. Fear the Walking Dead, you felt like you traveled around a lot.
Yeah.
And I kind of liked that. The world felt a bit bigger, and I felt like we got to see a bit more of it, and there was a bit more variation. And it wasn't just kind of in another woods.
I mean, on The Walking Dead, you just feel like they keep running into each other with different people, and it's just like, come on, out of how great America is, you keep running into the same people. It's a bit like, like, even in Fear the Walking Dead, when Morgan and Dwight, they end up in the same place. They've traveled all the way from Atlanta, and somehow they end up in the same place in Fear the Walking Dead, and it's a bit like, small
Yeah,
world.
that's right. I think I got to the season where they were either about to come into it or a couple of episodes before that. I think that's how far I got.
Yeah.
And that'll be interesting to see, where their storylines go and how that all pans out. Well, just remains for me to say thank you to my guest, Anca, super fan of The Walking Dead, for chewing the fat tonight on this. And we're going to be doing a live stream on Sunday where at 8 p.m. British time, where I'm going to be playing this Choose Your Own Adventure book, Lone Wolf Flight from the Dark. This is one of those things where you pick a number and you go, do you go through the door or do you go towards the river? That kind of thing. I've always thought a zombie one of these would be really good. You could do these. You could do zombie adventure books set in The Walking Dead. If you like zombie novels, also, I'm going to recommend an author called Frank Tail, who's done a series of zombie books set in the UK. And most of the books are named after a different location in London. But look him up on Amazon, Frank Tail. And I bought the first few in the series, and I keep meaning to get more. They're not big books. They're only about the same size as this Pegasus Bridge screenplay. And I pass them on to people when I've read them. So I don't have any of them here. But I've read like the first three. He's a very good writer, and it's one central character, and you're kind of following his journey. And it's been very clever not to use things like that. He doesn't call them walkers, or they might be called roamers or something like that. It's something similar.
Yeah.
But that's well worth checking out. Okay, guys. So don't forget to like and subscribe, share the stream. If you liked what you saw, you want me to talk about something else in particular, let me know and I'll get on the case. But for now, that's all we've got time for. So thanks very much for tuning in and see you again soon.